Bacon Bit Podcast, where we desire for you to take the bits of information and immediately apply them to your life for success. The ground rules for our podcast is that it will always be encouraging, uplifting, and informative. The areas of life that we will be talking about on the Bacon Bits Podcast is always dealing with having a balanced life, whether that is financially, getting the information that we need, whether that's towards insurance or stocks, eventually real estate, having a balanced budget, getting debt free, how to handle credit cards. We want to deal with so many areas in the financial aspect that will help people have lives where they won't have to stress about money. We also want to talk about relationships, how to have healthy relationships, whether that's with your parents, with your siblings, with your husband, wife, with your kids, with your in-laws, whether it's with extended family or with friends. We want to have the kind of life that none of the relationships that we have in our lives are stressful. We want to also have talking about the physical body, the beautiful machine that you get a chance to walk around in and live the kind of life that you say you desire. So whether that may be eating right, whether that may be doing some type of body movement, and I call it body movement versus exercise, because if you're out pruning your rose garden, that is a form of body movement, whether it's playing, watching your dog, taking him for a walk, her for a walk, that is a type of body movement. Whether it is playing with your kids and having such a good time, tussling around and wrestling around and having a good time, that's also body movement. So we also want to talk about that, how to eat better, eat the things that God has placed on this beautiful planet for us to eat and consume, whether that be also sleep. Sleep is one of the most phenomenal things that we could ever have, and how can we get better rest? How can we do those things that will cause us less stress? We definitely want to deal with those topics. Also with the mental aspect. And you know, we have so many areas and things that we can talk about when it comes to the mental aspect, whether it's shame, whether it's guilt, whether it's regret, whether it's negative thinking, stinking thinking, whether it's dealing with the thought process behind drugs and alcohol, whether it's dealing with toxic behavior that leads us to have those toxic relationships. And also we'll be talking about how to live your dream life, how to live the life that you were designed to live on this planet with the giftings and callings and talents that God has blessed you with. We want to have a full life, man. I just truly believe that, man, when we live at our ultimate, life can't get no better. But it also entails us doing the small bacon bits of information, not just knowing what to do, but it's also applying the things that we need to do, because we want to have such a well-rounded and full life. So you'll be hearing me give podcasts, whether it be with myself or whether it would be experts in those different areas that we're going to be talking about. But we want you guys to have a full and abundant life. We're tired of life stealing from you. We're tired of life killing you. We're tired of life stealing from you. We want you to have the kind of life that you can live and live abundantly, as God says we can live. Okay, now that we've laid the ground rules, what is the first subject we'll be talking about on this podcast? It's going to be the subject of hope. In the society that we live in today, man, there's a lot of people, man, that are losing hope in our society, whether losing hope in the economy, losing hope in politics, losing hope in religion, losing hope in relationships, man, just losing hope. And people, if they understood the true definition of hope is what are you earnestly expecting to happen? A lot of people aren't expecting things to happen. They're wishing for things to happen, but they're not expecting it. The true definition of hope is what you earnestly expect. So a lot of people will tie in hope and faith. And so the definition of faith is now. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. So let's take out the word hope and put the definition. So now faith is the things that you're earnestly expecting to happen, but you have not yet seen in the physical. And all of us in one aspect or another has faith. And just to give you an example, so somebody goes to college for 4 years expecting to get a 4-year degree. How can you tell if that person is earnestly expecting for that to happen? They'll get up in the morning, go to classes regularly, take their midterms, take their finals, turn in term papers with the expectation that they're going to get a degree. But when they walk on that campus the very first day, they do not see a degree with their name on it. So they're earnestly expecting by putting forth the effort for that very thing to happen. And my question to you is, what are you truly earnestly expecting to happen? What is those things that you're putting forth an effort for it to actually happen? Because every year on January 1st, we tell these New Year's resolutions about how we're going to change our life. And the stuff we say sounds so good, man. This year I'm getting out of debt. Woo! This year I'm getting my credit score higher than I did last year. This year I'm putting more money away. This year I'm just going to finally get to the point where I'm satisfied financially. But then by the time January 15th gets here, we always say, hey, how's that going for you? And usually there was no steps that were taken towards that very goal that they say they wanted to achieve. It was just a wish because they didn't put forth an earnest effort for it to happen by checking their credit score, see where it's at, by looking at the account and actually putting forth, 10% of their savings away every time they get paid, by effortlessly looking at see how much debt they're in and actually doing something about it. So we can expect a lot of things, at least we're thinking we're expecting it, but we're actually just wishing for it to happen. So you would say, what's the number one thing you would advise somebody that really wants to change their life? And I would have to actually ask them, what is truly in their heart? Not their head. Because there's a lot of things that we logically know not to do, but we still end up doing it anyway. I have the privilege of working at a drug and alcohol rehab facility, and always ask the question in one of my classes is, how many of you guys logically know you shouldn't do drugs and alcohol? And every last hand goes up. But I always ask them, why do you still do drugs and alcohol? And they always, think because of the environment or the different things, and I always say, deep down, it's a heart issue. Because if I really, truly loved myself, there's no way I would be putting this poison in my body. So I always ask them, what is it that stops you from truly loving yourself to the depths? Because just using that sample that I use in my classes is it usually ends up being one of those 5 areas that I talked about at the beginning of this podcast. It's usually the mismanagement of money, the stress from money. It's usually being in toxic relationships that are absolutely no good for you. It's usually health issues. And usually when we're in some kind of physical or chronic pain, it causes us to want to do anything to alleviate that pain. And unfortunately, drugs and alcohol are used as a medication for that pain. And then it's also the stress of what we're thinking, how we're marinating on things that don't need to be marinated on. What could happen, what could possibly happen. A lot of the stress that we have, a lot of the anxiety we have is because we're stressing about outcomes that more than likely will never happen. And we have got to get to a point that we only focus on those things that we actually have some control over. Because me stressing about the economy changes nothing. Me stressing about the weather changes nothing. Me stressing about my beautiful queen, the relationship that we're in, me stressing about her loving me back won't change anything. I can change how I love her and the things that make her want to love me back, but I cannot stress about her loving me back. I pray with everything in my being that she would, but the stress of it absolutely helps nothing. We think about all the things that, what could possibly happen to my kids. We've been having a lot of issues and situations in our lives with the shootings and things of that nature. But me stressing about it changes nothing. I can put all the precautions and things in place for that not to happen, but me stressing about it changes nothing. So we have got to get to a point where What is that thing that's in our hearts that truly is running the show? A lot of times we just don't want to do the very thing that we say we want to do. I want to be in health, but I don't want to exercise. I don't want to eat better. We say we want better relationships, but we won't sit down and have the deep heart-to-heart conversations that we need to have. We say we want better finances, but we're not using the gifts and talents and callings and passions that we have to actually make more money. So we always have to ask ourselves, deep down, what is stopping me from having the kind of life of my dreams? But a lot of times we allow our emotions to get in the way. And I am big on making sure that your thoughts are in line first before you have the emotion, because we can't have an emotion before we have a thought. What ends up usually happening is if you ask me, how am I doing? And I say, I'm happy. One of the questions you would ask me is, why am I happy? Because it ain't just I'm happy just to be happy. It's usually because something has happened, whether I got a chance to hang out with the kids or the grandkids. I got a chance to do a little date thing with me and my baby at Costco, getting a couple of pieces of pizza and a soda. It could be getting a chance to wash the car. It could take some of the simplest things to make me happy. But you would ask me, why am I happy? Because it didn't just happen. It was something that took place that made me happy. So you always have to ask, why am I allowing my emotions to run the show? Because what ends up happening is, if we think about something long enough in our hearts, we think about the emotions that's attached to it, we usually end up doing it. So just using me per se, I love going and working out. I love being in my house, doing the calisthenic workout. I love the feeling after a workout. It makes me feel so good that I'm taking care of my body. So I think about working out. I think about the benefits of working out, but I also honestly think about the negative effects of me not working out. Walking around with a 54-year-old body, I'm not getting any younger. So if I don't exercise, there's going to be some cost that has to be paid if I don't take care of my body and let it grow old gracefully. So I think about the positives and the negatives of those things. I think about the emotional happiness that it brings after a workout. So it ends up me working out. And I love that part. I love it. So I think about, what's the things that's in my heart? What's the emotional attachment to those things that's in my heart? And I usually end up acting on those things. And so if we continue to act on things and we do those things over and over again, it becomes what we call a habit. Now, I like to play with words. Are habits good or bad? They're neutral. Consequences. Are they good or bad? They're neutral. Money. Is it good or bad? It's neutral. And it's even a definition of with hope. What you earnestly expecting. Can you earnestly expect a good day? Mm-hmm. Can you earnestly expect a bad day? Mm-hmm. Can you earnestly expect que sera, sera? Whatever will be, will be. Whatever you focus on, that's what we always end up getting. So we have to ask ourselves, what is our hearts focusing on? So if we continue to do a habit over and over again, what does it end up becoming? Our character. Who we are as individuals are the habits that we do over and over and over again. I could tell my queen all day that I love her. Yeah, verbally saying, I love her, love her, I love her, I love her, I love her, I love her. But the question would be, are my actions lining up with what I'm saying? Hopefully it would be off the habits of me telling her I love her, and she seeing that I love her by taking her where she needs to go, saying the things that she needs to hear, also doing the things that she would need me to do and also want to do because I love her. So it will be from my actions that I do towards my habanero sugar, my queen, over and over again. I can tell my babies that I love them all day long. And that's just verbal, just hopefully encouragement. But I would hope to send them a text to let them know I love them. I would hope every time I see them that I would give them a hug and some sugar and tell them I love them because of the actions being shown over and over again. So those things that are part of our character are the things that we as individuals continue to do as habits over and over again. And if we operate in our character long enough, it's going to take us somewhere. And that is our destiny. Now, destiny and destination are two different things. Our destination is part of our destiny, but our destiny is not that destination. Let me give you a couple examples. So after a person has went to school for 13 years, counting kindergarten, they walk across that stage and they get this wonderful thing called a diploma. Woo! We got some kind of award for our 13 years of faithfulness to going to this institution and getting this information. Now, once they cross that stage and they get that diploma, is life over or did it just begin? It just began, because now it's time to either go to college, go into the services, go into tech school, and continue our education. Whether somebody gets married, you say, I do. That person says, I do. We're married. Is it over or did it just begin? It just began. When somebody says they're having a baby, 9 months of this wonderful queen carrying this beautiful child, and after 9 months, the baby's here. Is it over or did it just begin? It just began. And just like I tell my people at my rehab, after we stopped doing the drugs and alcohol, is it over or did it just begin? It just began. New beginnings are beautiful, and it's beautiful to be motivated to start something, but it is the dedication and discipline of doing those things that's going to keep us happy. So on this last bit, this closing out, I would love to say, man, what is that main ingredient that's in your heart that's holding you back from having the kind of dream life that you want? What is that earnest expectation that you desire to have that's going to cause you to move, and not just move, not just be motivated, not just be encouraged to start it, but also to be disciplined enough to get that very thing that you want? This is your boy John Bacon with another segment of Bacon Bitz. I am so glad you guys tuned in, and I am so glad that you guys came here, and we just thank you for what you're doing. We thank you that you tuned in. We thank you for being such a part of the Bacon Bitz family. We just ask that you would share this podcast with somebody that you love, that you desire to go to another level. We desire that you, if you need to go back and hear it again, that you would go back and hear it again. We want you to rate this. We want you to like it. And we just thank you so much for tuning in. And we thank you so much for being a part of the family. And we will see you on our next podcast. Thank you, and God bless.